Greetings, everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mir, Search for Uhuru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. As you come to the chat room, please hit that like button again. Please hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the Search for Uhuru family, go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Hit that subscription notification as well so you can stay up to date and get get your notifications in real time in regards to when we're going live and when new content is posted. Also, make sure you go to oneafricaproperties.com. Again, please go to oneafricaproperties.com, your central source for real estate on the continent. Couple more announcements. Tour Nigeria. We are rolling to the Osun Festival, leaving August 9th. Tour ends on August 16th. So if you're interested in rolling, we still got a couple spots. Send me an email. Go to dynast@dynastbeer.com or send me a message here on YouTube or whatever platform you are viewing. Go ahead and inbox me and I will send you the details on the tour. Again, if you would like to roll to Nigeria with us, hit me up. We still got a couple spots and you are more than welcome to join us. Without further ado, all the way from Romulus, Michigan, right outside of Detroit.
Right outside Detroit.
Now, Akindele, let me get your opinion on something real quick. What are your on Detroit? Give me your honest opinion on Detroit. Like, I know the winters are brutal, but outside of that, right. Every time people talk about flipping, whenever people talk about flipping houses and really flipping houses, I'm gonna flip a house. I'm going to Detroit, man. I'm about to buy 20 houses for $100. What are your honest thoughts on Detroit, real quick?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show, and I just want to jump into your question with this answer.
Well, let's do this. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into the question. That was so rude, but I just
no, you wasn't rude. It was a burning question you had, and I got a burning answer for you. But before that, let me tell your audience who's never heard or seen me before. Akindele Akinyemi. I am the president and CEO of the Global African Business Association. We've been around for 7 years. We started off as the National African Business Association. We started in a city called Inkster, Michigan, which is about roughly 10 miles west of Detroit. And we decided to set up shop in Inkster because it was 6 square miles. It sat next to the airport in Romulus, Michigan. 23,000 residents. The economy there had bottomed out. They had just lost their school district from the state. And we figured that this is a perfect place outside of Detroit for us to try to do something creative to link the wealth between African Americans and Africans and Caribbean people within the diaspora. And so we have been on that journey for the last 7 years. Ranging from developing a cultural arts district in the city of Inkster to showcasing properties, both residential and commercial, for African investors and families to move in. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is when I was on the library board in the city of Inkster, we built a $1.8 million brand new library, which is very important. It's very important for a city that lost its school district. You have to turn to your library system for educational purposes. And I was proud to be part of that journey. And so I want to answer your question now about Detroit. I lived in Detroit, of course. I went to school in Detroit. And these whole things about flipping properties, at one point, you could flip properties. In fact, properties at one point, especially during the Great Recession, houses were cheaper than a car. And so you were able to pick up properties and flip them and make your money. That is becoming obsolete in the city of Detroit. You go in certain neighborhoods like Corktown, houses, 3-bedroom house, $1.5 million is being listed. You have brand new lofts in condos being built starting at $400,000. You have yes, this is Detroit. You have other types of real estate properties in the hood. I'm talking about jungle, and those properties are going 300,000 and up. And so those days are gone in the city of Detroit. You may find a few places where you can purchase property for little or nothing, but that's not really the case. I saw a listing just last night on a friend's Instagram page. She's a realtor. She posted, I think something like a 4-bedroom house for $115,000. Now the zip code is the same zip code I was raised in. And so for a home to cost that kind of amount in a zip code that I was raised in, which is, it's a low income area. That was pretty, I'm not surprised, but this is where Detroit is going. And the reason for that is because Detroit has to compete with Chicago and now Indianapolis and Columbus. I don't know if your audience understand the dynamics of the Midwest as it pertains to city size, but everybody knows Chicago is the largest city in the Midwest. It's the third largest city in the U.S. Behind New York and Los Angeles. But also you have in the mix Indianapolis and Columbus, and those cities have grown tremendously over the past 15 years, and Detroit has shrunk in the past 15 years. Right. So now you have communities with all this vacant land, and you could turn down the street, and there's 2 houses, and the rest is all brownfield. And I just be urging people, whether they belong to a church. If your church doesn't have a community development corporation, start one. If you don't belong to an investment group, real estate investment group, start a real estate investment group and buy the block. Because if you don't buy the block, I promise you, somebody will buy it. No, I was just saying, the Arabs, our Middle Eastern brothers and sisters, will buy the block like they've always done. I recall living in Warrendale, which is a neighborhood in Detroit that's close to Dearborn. Now, here's the thing about Warrendale. Warrendale originally was a neighborhood of white folks when I was growing up. And during the recession, when I lived in Warrendale, that neighborhood, it became predominantly black. But guess what? You had a lot of Middle Eastern folks, a lot of Arabs buying up the properties, like 40 going north. They were buying dilapidated homes, all kind of stuff. If your porch leaned to the side, they bought it. And what they did was they fixed it up. And before you know it, they bought the block and they converted churches to masjids. And now is unrecognizable in that area of town because Dearborn, everybody knows that Dearborn, Michigan, sit next to Detroit, is the largest Middle Eastern population outside the Middle East. Everybody on earth knows that. And so they start because so many Middle Eastern folks live in Dearborn, they started spreading out. And so they started matriculating to Detroit, the places like Warrendale, and they've matriculating to Dearborn Heights, which used to be predominantly white. And now they're matriculating to cities like Inkster, and so which is predominantly black. And so the reality of the situation is and I love what you do with One Africa Properties. I follow you guys on Instagram and LinkedIn. I follow you guys closely because this is something my co-founder is a realtor who wants to get in international real estate. We talk about One Africa Properties religiously because I think one of the things we need to understand as you guys are showcasing those properties to demonstrate to African Americans that Africa is a destination, not for the future, but right now, not just for investment, but right now for living, for building business, whether you want to do Airbnb or the whole nine. You guys have a very important role. And then showcasing properties in places like Inkster and Romulus, showcasing those properties for potential African investors and families that want to move to the U.S. So it's a win-win situation of what we're doing together, man. And I just applaud you and Aurelia, Aurelia Pert and the rest of your team. Of course, anything that GABA can do to support. We can talk about that offline, man. But we're talking about that offline. You just brought something up. So me and Aurelia, we're licensed real estate agents. Right, so, exactly.
the idea was like, okay, well, if we're helping people acquire property in Africa, since we're licensed here, people in Africa who want to acquire property in the States, we could do that as well. So we'll talk offline and see, what we could put together. Guys, make sure you hit that like button. You come to the chat room again. Please hit that like button. Now, Gaba.
Yes.
One of the initiatives or objectives is for local urban communities, businesses in Africa to collab and work together. I'm trying to figure out why in this day and age. Now, we had the example, I think it was in Chicago or Illinois, where the Ghanaian investors bought a bank or acquired a bank here in I think Illinois.
Correct.
But why is this type of collaboration still somewhat, for some reason, foreign to the Black community here in America and abroad as well?
It's foreign because the lack of education. I mean, you have we're not just educated about the power that we have, and I think most of the times we focus a lot on social justice issues that brings us together. Whether it's kidnappings of children, like Chibok girls, that brought collaboration between African Americans and Africans. The George Floyd murder.
George Floyd.
Yeah, that brought collaboration between African Americans and Africans globally. Even the African Union made a statement about that murder, which is unprecedented in itself. And so when it comes to social justice issues and cultural issues, we are united. We have African Americans that like jollof rice. We have African Americans that listen to Afrobeat. We have Africans that listen to Drake. I mean, we have Africans that look at American movies more than Nollywood and Nollywood and Gollywood. So there are some dynamics there that brings us together. But when it comes to economic development and bringing us together strategically across the diaspora to create an ecosystem of empowerment, that education still has to take place. And what I mean by that is a lot of people don't know what the African Continental Free Trade Area is. Here in the States, people don't know what AGOA is here in the States and the benefits of AGOA. Most people don't know what a foreign trade zone is. And so most people don't know what an EB-5 investor visa is. And so these are some educational components that we have to exploit. And these are programs, with the exception of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is relatively new. The rest of the things I just mentioned has been around for a long time. And I think one of the things we have to do as stakeholders here in the United States in local urban communities is to understand the power of your city. Now, what we focus in GABA is city development. We don't really too much focus on the federal government. What we utilize the federal government for most of the time is resources. So there may be some resources from USDA with grants or Department of Commerce or the International Trade Administration, something of that nature, where there's some resources and some education that we can utilize to teach people in the community. But our cities have to understand that look like you and I, our cities have to become incubators of empowerment. And what I mean by that is cities, not federal governments, is what's going to move the process forward in this decade. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. And what that means is that when we talk about merging human capacity with technology, that brings a different dynamic to the table. And so cities have to position itself to be players at the global stage. And the reason why we have to discuss that is because when an investor is paying attention to investing in a community, we have to help them understand what a master plan is. We have to help them understand the importance of a zoning ordinance, and we must understand what a city charter is. And the reason why we focus on those three things is because whoever understands those three things proficiently controls the community in which you live in, whether in terms of land use, commercial, residential, the whole nine. Those are the three elements we pay attention to make things work. And so I think to answer your question is that we need to focus more on the educational end strategically as it pertains to economic development. A lot of us want to talk about cultural historical impacts of African Americans and Africans and Caribbean people as it pertains to Europeans. And I think that history must be told, especially with millennials and Gen Z, so they can get the full picture of what we're trying to accomplish, not just as a global community, but also we need to understand the advent of technology with blockchain and other types of real estate tokenization, which is something we are totally left out of the game with real estate tokenization, understanding the importance of AI and machine learning, understanding the importance of 3D printing. And you know, you're in the real estate, you know, 3D printing homes is going to be a game changer. This is stuff we're not even talking about in Black communities in America yet. And talking about 3D printing homes from a foreign investor who wants to invest into an entire community building 3D printing homes, and that person can get a green card through an EB-5, okay? And we have a bunch of 3D printing homes. That's a game changer. Guess what? Someone has to be at the table to talk about it from a zoning perspective and a master plan perspective, and that's where we come in at. So we got to be very strategic and methodical about our approach to linking that kind of connection together.
Now, guys, what we're going to do here in about 15 minutes, we're going to open up the line. So if you'd like to call in and ask a question, you're more than welcome to. I hope I am coming in clear. I forgot my VPN is on. Goodness, I hope I'm clear because, you know, guys, I'm going to disconnect this VPN. So if I drop off for a second, I apologize. You guys. There we go. Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back. Yeah. So.
Oh man, you've got clear now. There we go.
Yeah. No, I have my I have my VPN on. So, yeah, I apologize about that, and I forgot it was still on. So sometimes the picture, the stream will come in as clear on my end. So guys, I'm sorry about that. Crypto Black says, "Yep, 3D printing homes made in 3 weeks, half the cost." But okay, so here in America, you know, a little off subject because he brought up 3D printing.
Yeah.
Construction costs are out of the roof. Lumber costs are out of the roof.
Yeah.
So what they just fully roll out this right now? Like, why not? Like, what's going on? I feel like it's not that popular.
I think, you know, I have talked to several 3D printing companies that build homes here in the United States. And the reason I was interested in it because Inkster, I'll use Inkster as an example, then I'll talk about Romulus. Inkster, for example, have a lot of land. And if you look at the south side of Inkster, the south side totally needs to be redeveloped from A to Z. And so especially in a couple specific areas that I target, it needs to be redeveloped in terms of housing stock. And so I reached out to these folks and, you know, asked them, you know, where are you doing these 3D printing homes? I'm just curious. And they said, well, you know, I said, you doing anything in Midwest, you know, let alone Michigan? Oh, no, you know, we only focus on New York and Florida and California right now. We haven't reached across the, you know, rest of the country yet. I don't think it's in demand yet. And I think part of that reason why there's no demand for it is because it's still in the prototype stages. And so, you know, America, unfortunately, we're always behind on innovation. You know, the rest of the world understand 3D printing homes and 3D printing buildings, and they're moving forward with that. The same thing with smart homes. That's just relatively a new concept as well. And so, you know, even with smart homes and trying to build smart homes within local urban communities is a game changer. My thing is this, though. With an EB-5 investor visa, which means that if you're an investor or a group of investors that are seeking to build commercial real estate properties in an unemployment area, as long as you have a minimum of $900,000 in your investment and follow the procedures of hiring a minimum of 10 U.S. workers, you're on your way to a permanent residency green card. And so, you know, when you look at innovative things like 3D printing homes or smart homes, in particular communities, container homes, that's smart, in particular communities of color, to reinforce new neighborhoods and then fuse those neighborhoods. We talk about Joe Biden. I think he had a ideal of trying to raise the cap off refugees or something like that. When you hear talk like that, we have to position ourselves to say, hey, we want those refugees from the DRC. We want those refugees from South Sudan to come to communities like of color. And we want to put them in this particular neighborhood. And we want to, and what we want to do is some cross-cultural experiences with entrepreneurship to raise the tax base. Those are the things that we should be focusing on, not just dumping people in the DRC in Boise, Idaho, or dumping them in the middle of Arizona and like South Sudanese.
You know where they're dumping them at? North and South Dakota.
North and South Dakota, exactly. And so you're dumping them in these areas where there are no other Black folks, and we need to be very proficient and efficient in making sure that they come into communities like in Inkster or Romulus or even certain parts of Detroit. I know certain parts of Detroit that's sparsely populated to really make a difference. And so, we have to have those conversations with our city officials, our city council folks, our planning commissioners, people like that, to really get the ball rolling.
So someone was asking a question: what is the best? So for Black Americans who are interested in doing business, example for Ghana, like what's the best way to engage or, I guess, set up or get involved and do business in, say, a country like Ghana? Now, my thing is always, so the strategy we're taking, like at One Africa Properties and just me in general, is it's better to try to collaborate with the local on the ground and show them how they can improve and help them improve what they're doing versus reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Our strategy in GABA has always been our standard operational procedure has always been, first connect with our Chamber of Commerce and Industry over in these respective nations, because they're the eyes and ears of business and eyes and ears of real estate, and they understand how to navigate that process. I tell anybody that. I even told my mother that. I think she wants to do something in Rwanda. She was explaining something to me yesterday. She wants to do some type of business in Rwanda. And, one of the things I shared with her quickly was the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. That's the plug you have to have in. So you want to find a good Chamber of Commerce and Industry to work with, because they understand the lay of the land. They also understand if you don't want to go through agencies like the U.S. Commercial Services, which they normally will do all the research on behalf of the client or the business or the corporation on what is the best marketability for you to execute your business in this particular nation or particular area. Even if you don't want to go through U.S. Commercial Services, an agency like that, you still should go through your Chamber of Commerce. They can tell you exactly what is needed in this particular area, whether it's infrastructure or digital or digitalization, education, road construction or any kind of thing, or light rail, whatever. And so they will be able to tell you up front what is needed and how to get that ball rolling.
Okay, guys. Hopefully that answered your guys' question. Also, too, what we'll do, if you'd like to call in and ask a question, link is in the chat room. I'm going to put in the chat room right now. Just click on the link and call in and fire away. So as far as local urban communities here in America, because sometimes our people can be very stubborn whenever you bring up the subject, like, hey, try and collaborate with industries and companies in Africa. It's like, nah, we don't do that. Are they all coming over here? I don't know. It's at times they can be very stubborn.
Yeah.
Like what are they missing out on by not reaching out to?
You're missing out on this. What you're missing out is you're missing out on an opportunity to create our own ecosystem. And what I mean by that is we have so many industries on the continent that does not exist in the United States. Here's a clear-cut example I like to use when I'm giving lectures and when I'm giving these kinds of talks is, let's take a bank like GT Bank in Nigeria. Well, GT
Right.
Bank is known, GT Bank is known in Africa, but they don't even have a subsidiary here in the United States. Not even a
Right.
credit union that's connected to GT Bank. Now, why did I mention GT Bank? Because in a subsidiary. Well, here's why. Because instead of paying MoneyGram or Western Union to wire money back home, like a lot of us do, and they're reaping the benefits, why
Right.
not go into a credit union that's subsidiary of GT Bank, deposit the money that or wire the money from that particular credit union with little to no charge and back home to your loved ones back home. Where I'm going with that is that we have to understand that there are industries on the continent that are very successful that needs to be right here in local urban communities in the United States, where we are training young African American male and females the art of the business as it pertains to African brands, and so that African brand can be an anchor of business within the community in which we are serving, as in terms of employment, in terms of a tax base, and most importantly, as in terms of changing the dynamic of the community at large. And so we need to do a better job of porting these businesses from the continent here to the United States. And then there are some brands here, that African American brands right here in the United States, that we should be courting on the continent. Why is that? Here's an example I love to give. Let's take a city like Romulus, Michigan, where we're based. And Romulus is a logistics city. If anybody on your chat understand what Romulus is, Romulus, they got 2 Amazon facilities. They have a General Motors facility. The airport is there. All kinds of trucking industries is there. And Romulus does not have basic needs like a grocery store in that whole city.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Now, what I mean by that, where I'm going with that is this. Number one, because it's a logistics city, if I wanted to set up a logistics business in Romulus, and then I decided to go to Rwanda or Kenya or Nigeria and set up a second hub on the continent of logistics in terms of maybe textiles, maybe manufacture auto parts. Guess what? I have a pipeline between Romulus and the country of my choice, and possibly because of the type of volume that I'm moving, I too can play in the African Continental Free Trade Area as a medium-sized enterprise. We don't think like that as African Americans, not understanding that we too play a role on a global scale, but we have to be educated. Same thing with AGOA. When you're importing textiles from Ghana or places like Cameroon or Togo, and you import those textiles to the port of entry here, those textiles, because the U.S. have a relationship with those countries through AGOA, those things are tariff exempt. But guess what?
Right.
We don't know that, and guess who else don't know that? Most of the time, the custom folks don't know that either.
Yeah, they hitting you over the head.
Exactly, hit you over the head. And
Right.
so where I'm going with all this is it goes back to education and strategy to help position our communities and helping us understand that we are in the 21st century with all this, and we really need to create a ecosystem of economics that's sustainable for ourselves. So that way, France and China and all these other folks can look in, but they don't have to manipulate the process because we have this process going at a global scale.
Hello, Willa. Miss Brown says refugees to the U.S. have no clue about the demographics of their destination. African Americans have to get directly involved with the process.
That's very true. African Americans, and I want to add on to that as well. Not just African Americans got to get involved in the process, but the faith-based community has to get involved in the process that look like us. Oftentimes, when you look at refugees, the Catholic Church is involved, the Episcopal Church is involved, the Lutheran churches are involved. But when it comes to African American denominations, we're not engaged. And so that has to change, because refugees, once they hit U.S. soil in the local urban communities, refugees They're going to go to school. They're going to build entrepreneurship, and they're going to bring that different dynamic that we need to move our communities forward. So people who don't look like us don't have to, end up gentrifying our communities and pricing us out, but also being stakeholders within the community.
And guys, link is in the chat room. If you guys want to call in and ask a question, links in the chat room. Go ahead and click on that link, and you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. You brought up AGOA. Now it's up for renewal. What is it, next year or?
So AGOA is up for renewal in 2025.
Oh, okay. So we got okay. I thought it was.
So you got a little bit of time.
yeah. I thought it was coming up soon. So, okay, so we're good on that.
So AGOA is
right
coming.
Now.
So AGOA is renewed. Is going to be renewed. It's up for renewal in 2025, but we don't know what's going to happen to AGOA because there is some chatter out of DC saying, you know what, we should focus on bilateral agreements with various nations. How does that play into the role of the African Continental Free Trade Area? I haven't heard too much about that because I don't think there's too much chatter about that. Publicly, it's not a lot of chatter about that. But here's where I sit with bilateral agreements. If we're going to do or treaty agreements, if we're going to do treaty agreements with various African nations, then we need to ensure that those treaty agreements come with those nations can invest in an E1, E2 visa, period, hands down. And what that means with an E1, E2 visa, an E1 visa, if you want to set up and do import exports in the state of your choice or the city of your choice, you use an E1 visa. E2 visa is the sister visa to an EB5. So it doesn't lead to permanent residency, but you can invest in instead of a $900,000 project, you can invest in a $50,000 project like a cleaners in the community in which you live in. The problem with those treaty agreements, though, when it comes to places like Africa, I think there's only a few countries that have those treaty agreements. I think Ethiopia, Cameroon, Togo, Liberia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then you have Congo, Brazzaville. And I'm missing one country from the continent. They're the only ones that have a treaty agreement. So these countries like Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Botswana, they don't have Ghana, they don't have treaty agreements with the U.S.
Wow.
A bilateral agreement is more of a trade agreement. That's cool, but what about the treaty agreement where a person from Ghana that want to invest in the U.S. in a low-income community could just use an E2 visa to come over here, open up a school, open up cleaners, open up a small business, and give back to the community? Those are the conversations we need to be having on Capitol Hill. Those are the kind of strategic conversations we need to be having with the State Department and the Bureau of African Affairs.
Hey, well, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. And guys, once again, link is in the chat room. If you want to call in and ask a question, click on the link. Now, how can the people who are watching this, how can they utilize GABA? Like, what resources are available?
Well, the Global African Business Association, for 7 years, we've been considered a one-stop shop. And a one-stop shop meaning that we have, we offer real estate services, we offer digital marketing services, we offer educational services, whether it's K-12 or higher ed. We also offer customer service training. So that's just a few things we offer in the Global African Business Association. And so, you come in our network and you be part of our network, you belong to a family of experts and professionals that really care about your well-being. And the reason for that is because I've been in a lot of organizations in the past, and they only want to take your money, and some organizations want to, have, just fundraisers, and they do nothing else to empower our community. That's not what we do in the Global African Business Association. As the president, I have tried to navigate our membership to really work together as one. 80% of our organization are women, 20% men, 54% are millennials. And so, I have a strong focus on young people because I want, at some point in time, I'm not one of these guys that like to stay in power until you die or you become incapacitated. That's not how I roll. I just want a young person to say, listen, I want to learn, I want to be mentored because I want to lead one day. And that person is serious. Well, hey, I'm all for it. And so that's what we do here at GABA.
All right, let's bring on a caller. Let's hear George. Let me bring you on real quick. George, go ahead.
Yes, as a young refugee, I'm planning to relocate to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and yeah, we moved here when I was about around 2000. So I like to study economy and the way the things are, the money printing and the inflation. The best thing the African American community could do is leverage that dollar and invest in Africa somehow. Small land properties. That's what I'm planning to do because with the inflation, it's my opinion is just gonna get difficult to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my plan. In a few months, I'll be relocating to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, which is closer to South Sudan, where I'm originally from. So that's what I'm doing, leveraging my U.S. dollar over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Lolly Man, thank you for the super chat. Yes, sir. Thank you, George. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's see what else we have here, guys. Again, links in the chat room if you want to call in. Click on the link. Oh, someone was asking. In fact, I think we talked about this on the last time you were on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what franchises are in Africa that Black America could invest in and bring over here to America? Do you know of any by chance? Or
pick one. Just pick one. I'm not just franchises, financial institutions, especially with fintech. You could set up cryptocurrency or blockchain companies on the continent. I mean, there is it isn't, and some things don't even have to be as technical. It could be something as simplistic as setting up a mechanic shop. Now, what I mean by that is sometimes you see people fixing their cars on the side of the road because there's no mechanic shop in certain areas. You can get a mechanic shop where you have the hoist, where the car is on the hoist, and you look under the engine and stuff. I mean, that's something. I mean, that's what's needed. That's what's needed. And so, and that's not very technical, like fintech or anything. This is just basic things that we need on the continent. And then so African Americans can invest in things that they see in their community every day and bring it to the continent. And then there are franchises, restaurant franchises they can invest in, shopping franchises. And so it just really depends, again, on the vision that we have here that we want to execute there. It depends on what market you want to go in. Are you want to go into hospitality? Are you going into real estate? Do you want to go into education? I'm an educator. I have a board member right now that has been approved by the Ministry of Education in Nigeria to provide cyber education anywhere in the country.
Oh, wow.
A board member right now in GABA. And she's been doing that. And so, it just depends on what industry you really want to go into to make it happen.
All right. Somebody in the chat room brought up the male to female ratio of GABA. Like, so he's saying that he feels like the ratio is off.
The reason why they have a lot of women in GABA is because Black women are leaders in business. That's really it. And that's and there's not that's something that is undeniable in our community. The men in GABA work very, very hard, and they're upfront, not just myself, but other men in GABA. But most of the time, we attract a lot of ladies, because a lot of ladies are either into small, medium-sized enterprises, which that's what we focus on as an organization. But time will tell whether that balance become 80-20 to 50-50. We just have to keep pushing our message, of understanding, linking the wealth in the 21st century, between local urban communities here in the States and on the continent. And so we'll see what happens. But I mean, I get that question and statement all the time. Yeah.
Shout out to brother Fabian. This is an excellent conversation. Glad I could tune in. Thanks, Dinus Akindele. Here we go. All right, guys. So once again, the link is in the chat room. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, you're more than welcome. Live from Little 5 Points. Little 5 Points is here in Atlanta. I mean, you were in the queue, but then you dropped off. So live from Little 5 Points. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to join the conversation. So what's next for here we go. Some of us should focus on getting a customs broker's license and start import and export. What's needed to start an import export business? Well,
it depends on it depends on what kind of import export you want to go into. Some people want to go into e-commerce. Mm-hmm. We have a member in GABA right here in Romulus. That's what he's trying to do, is get into e-commerce, and do the import export from there. Some people want to do drop shipping. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what type of import export you want to get into. Once you define that, I agree, get a custom broker's license if that's what you choose to do, or find a partner that has that license already. I think one of the things I strongly recommend is to understand foreign trade zones, as well as the African Growth Opportunity Act and the benefits of that. It's not a perfect partnership. It's not a perfect thing, or a trade partnership, whatever they want to call it. It's not perfect, but it has its benefits. Then you have to define what you want to import, export.
All right.
Are you importing cars? Are you importing clothes? Are you exporting solar panels? Let's define that and kind of narrow that down, the dynamic down a little bit, to execute the plan. I look at the city of Detroit. I mean, and I talk about this sometimes when I go in front of the Ambassador Bridge, and I talk a lot about the importance of import exports right here on the Detroit River. Nobody talks about that. You see a ship passing on the Detroit River, that ship ain't coming from Africa or the Caribbean. That ship is coming from wherever. And so it's not coming from us. And so why is that? It's because part of the issue is we have never made the demand for it. And the Port Authority in Michigan, in Detroit, is underutilized, period. And so it's not like the Port of Houston or the Port of Baltimore or the Port of New Jersey, New York. It's completely underutilized, and that's an opportunity for us to seize the moment with those import-export companies that look like us.
Okay, let's see here. So what's next for GABA? Like what's next?
So what's next for us is we always have a lot of things going on in the Global African Business Association. We have we set up a new hub in Charlotte, North Carolina, where there's we're working on some workforce development issues. I don't want to say issues, but workforce development projects that's tied in with skilled tech trades in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a married couple that's on the ground there, that's doing a phenomenal job of bringing other people to the table to make this work. We also here in the great state of Michigan, we are still moving forward of working on our grocery store in Romulus, as well as our cultural arts district here in the city of Inkster, Michigan, as well as utilizing our brand new library, which I think it's important. And because I had a very long talk with the library director, and I said, listen, this library have to be used 100% It has technology in it. It has enough space for us to do trainings and things. And so now we're trying to just really ramp that up, especially with in this post COVID-19 environment. Also just really moving the needle in the great state of Texas. I was down in Houston recently, meeting with our team and just building some real positive relationships with not just with GABA Texas, but also with a young lady who owns her own television studio space in the city of Houston, African American woman, 4,000 square foot. And we have been talking, and we're joined at the hip about really expanding her reach onto the continent of Africa as it pertains to streaming media. I've always said, cable is running out of business. By 5 years, won't be no cable, it'll be all streaming television. And for her to be in that space, it's in Black owned, we have to really surround ourselves and really push her to greater heights. And so I think that's important.
You just brought up a great point. Like, I have not heard or seen any like DSTV commercials lately.
No.
Like satellite. I haven't heard or seen.
No, it's all streaming. Everybody's jumping on streaming, and I know our good sister in Houston is our good sister Central Reed is who runs Cree Global Media is looking at her space and looking at how things are laid out in her studio. I was fully convinced already, but I was fully convinced when I saw it face to face that we got to get this going and really move this space to the next level. She supports GABA, of course, and some other key contacts in the city of Houston. And now we're expanding to Dallas with one of our members that's going to help us move some things in Dallas. And then of course our faith-based coordinator in New York is on the grind as always, keeping us relevant in her faith-based networks in the state of New York. And Georgia, and so we have a lot of work to do in GABA. We're pushing cyber education, real estate, possibly doing some real estate trade missions that we're possibly looking at in 2022, and also try to get some lawmakers involved in that as well. So we have a lot of stuff going on in the Global African Business Association, especially in places like Ghana, Nigeria, and Cameroon, and so Mozambique. And so we're going to continue moving the process forward. Of course, I'm on the ground here in Michigan, trying to coordinate everything and everyone, and still continue to build these networks both internally and externally to empower our people.
Let's see here. How can people reach you? Website?
GABAnetwork.com.
GABA Network.
Yep. GABA network.com. You can reach me right there.
All right, there we go. GABAnetwork.com. And also,
yes,
too, someone was asking if they wanted to donate. Do you accept donations or contributions?
Yeah, of course. You go on I'll tell you the quickest way to donate is info@gabanetwork.com. Go to PayPal.
Okay. Someone else is asking, do you do consultations?
Yes. They just reach out to us at gabanetwork.com.
All right, let's see here. What we'll do, we'll keep the lines open for like another 10 minutes. If you guys want to call in, please go ahead and call in and ask your question. info@gabanetwork.com.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So guys want to contribute. PayPal is info@gabanetwork.com. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question. That kind of is on topic, but it's a little off topic.
Okay. Okay.
Black banks and cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
If black banks don't get ahead of the curve when it comes to crypto, do you think black banks are going to be the first to be obsolete?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. If black banks don't get ahead of the curve with blockchain, period, in terms of data, they're going to be obsolete. Everybody's not, brick and mortar, and I talk about this a lot. Brick and mortar right now in this post-COVID-19. And this is what I try to explain to folks. Never mind the fact that a lot of states are now ending their COVID-19 restrictions, like Michigan at midnight tonight. Forget that part. We need to be paying attention to what our communities globally is going to look like in the framework of the fourth industrial revolution in a post-COVID-19 world. That means that this includes the following. What does banking look like? Everybody's not going to a bank in a brick and mortar too much, unless there's some serious business they need to handle. People can open up a credit or a savings account online. People can can deposit money online, withdraw money. People can do all this transaction stuff with the click of a button. Okay. Schools now have shifted to mostly an online platform or a hybrid platform. There was a time when people made fun of University of Phoenix and Capella and Walden universities. These schools are not real, it's all about online. It's not real. And now COVID-19 has exposed how the traditional model simply doesn't work. And so now you have to have hybrid education or online education with K-12, and that's not going away. We sit up here and debate, we got to get the kids back in school. That's not going away, because you also have to factor in what K-12 is going to look like in the next 5 years when you add on artificial intelligence and machine learning teaching your children. That's something we have to discuss. Take a look at automation with cars. Automation with cars, driverless cars, this is real, this is now. This is not going away, everybody. The question becomes, what type of framework legally do we want driverless cars to be? There's going to come a time when a child is born today in 2021. By the time that child is 16 years old, that person downloads an Uber or Lyft, and the car comes around to the house, but there's no driver. This is the reality we're living in. And so you have these countries like Estonia, and I want to share this with your viewers. You have countries like Estonia that came out of the Cold War, right? Came out of the Cold War with the Soviet Union in 1991. They had a collapsed economy. And what happened is that they became, over a period of 15 years, a digitalized economy with blockchain. You can vote in. Now, we're talking about voter suppression in the United States, which is ridiculous. And in Estonia, you and I can vote from home with the click of a button from our Chromebooks. You and I can have access to e-government in Estonia with the click of a button. We can do e-prescriptions in Estonia. This is Estonia in Europe. And anybody can look up Estonia and see how advanced it is. You go to places like Shenzhen, China, where they don't even use cash. They use QR codes to pay for everything. They know you're from out of the country if you have if you have a Visa card or MasterCard or cash. They know you're not even from China. And this is a very advanced city that was built within 20 years. Where I'm going with all this is this. We as a global community of Black folks need to understand that these technologies are not going away. They're going to advance. And we have to position our Black banks here in the US to understand the power of cryptocurrency, to understand the power of blockchain, and also understand the power of fintech as it pertains to connecting the dots between us here in a place like Chicago or Detroit or New York and in Lagos, Accra, or Nairobi. And so Black banks here in the US play a big role in being sufficient. But when we still thinking kind of small, unfortunately, and with no global vision with your bank or with your financial institution, we're going to get lost in the sauce very quickly. And so it's time for us to raise our game up as a community to help people understand that this is real. This is not going away. And it's time for us to really make some things happen.
It's funny you brought up the whole school thing. So I have a friend, his daughter's is in college. She lives in California. She goes to Arizona State. Mm-hmm. Ask me how many times she's I think a sophomore or junior now. Ask me how many times has she been on campus at Arizona State. Mm-hmm. Ask me how many times.
How many times has she been on campus?
She has not stepped foot on campus one time.
Yeah. I work in higher ed. I asked the student a month ago. Was it a month ago? No, it was 2 weeks ago. I asked the student, we're going to have face-to-face or online classes in the fall? Which one you want? He said, give me all online.
Mm-hmm.
And I had about 5 or 6 students say, give me all online. Why? Because of the convenience. And even working 9 to 5, that is obsolete. I'm saying this on your program right now today.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Working 9 to 5 is obsolete. People are quit. You see all these job shortages and things like that that's going on.
Right.
Part of the reason, and everybody's on TV trying to, philosophize why there's a job shortage. Yeah, there's a job shortage because people don't want to go back to work. They feel comfortable working from home. You mean to tell me I could just click in? I have my VPN. I have all my information in front of my Chromebook or laptop, and I can do services and provide services for my clients or my customers from the click of a button from home. And the flexibility is there. People are quitting. People talking about going back in the office. People are quitting. Those are things that have to be addressed, because these things in the post-COVID-19 era, in the fourth industrial revolution, these things are not going away.
Absolutely. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out, Brother Akindele. Anything like to share in closing?
Hey, listen, again, Global African Business Association, where anybody who wants to join, go to GABAnetwork.com. We're happy to have you, as long as you have an open mind, an open heart, and you have the spirit, you have team spirit, and you're ready to roll your sleeves up and build a greater community globally for us. Hey, you're welcome to join. If not, if you don't want to join, you just want to talk to me, catch me on social media. I'm on all social media handles wherever I go, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. I'm on BomaLink. I'm on LinkedIn. You can catch me there. We can have a conversation, and be happy to talk to anyone about this, because I think it's a very important conversation that we need to have, and we need to get serious. And we need to get serious. Like my brother here, they're into real estate on the continent of Africa. That is a major game changer. And I can't stress the importance of real estate in the 21st century, especially with a lot of this stuff being on the blockchain right now, tokenization, where you have these small investors are investing in properties and stuff. We got to get in the game. And so we have to be able to support one another. I just thank you so much, brother, for having me on your program, and continue supporting that brother, Dynas Amir. Keep supporting him. He got some great topics, great people, man. He's good people. And I'll do anything to support him and his team as well.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you go to oneafricaproperties.com. Make sure you go to GABAnetwork.com. Until next time, family, Dynas Amir, search for Huru. Peace.
Peace.